What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Great American Reform. My name is Colton Furlow, and this is Freedom Friday, episode number 3, Education Indoctrination. So before we get started into today's topic about indoctrination within the education system, last week's video where I exposed the left's hatred and, hypocrisy was deleted by YouTube. Don't know why. Didn't say why. It said a violation of community guidelines. Blows my mind. Within the video, I said that everyone in this country has equal rights across the board, except conservatives. We are losing our First Amendment faster than ever before. They just proved my point. They took down the video where I was exposing the left. I was exposing how much they hate anyone who has a different opinion and the hypocrisy. They claim that Republicans and conservatives are like these awful people who are intolerant and just filled with hate and are just so rude. And then they basically go tell me that I should rot in hell. So YouTube deleted my video. So I'm going to try to re-upload it to Facebook and see if I can get it to stay on there, which I probably won't because Mark Zuckerberg, also likes to censor everything. So I'm under the censor thing again. So my second TikTok account that I had to make after my first one was banned for no reason other than being a conservative was just now temporarily banned. So I had to send in an appeal, so I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I did nothing wrong. Again, just me being a conservative and being censored. It's happening to us across the board. We have no rights when it comes to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, nothing. And they always say, once you lose your freedom of speech and freedom of religion, it just goes downhill from there. So I'm just waiting to see what other things we're just about ready to lose. I mean, we're basically losing our Second Amendment too. They're placing so many restrictions on it that are only restricting law-abiding citizens. These laws aren't restricting criminals because criminals break laws. They don't restrict the criminals because criminals don't care about the restrictions, therefore they're going to break the law anyway. So these restrictions are only restricting law-abiding citizens. And they're law-abiding citizens because they don't break the law. And if they do break the law, then they're not law-abiding citizens, they're criminals. This is the stupidity that we have in Washington, D.C. But anyway, this episode is going to be talking about the indoctrination within the classroom all across the country throughout our education system. So as you know, I do attend Coastal Carolina University. I'm not going to tell you what my major is if you haven't found that out already, but it is like a governmental major. But my double minors are pre-law and criminology. So back in January, I get my syllabus for one of my program classes that I'm required to take to graduate through my major. We get the syllabus and I was reading through it and I was came to a section and I was like, well, this is really odd. This is something that definitely shouldn't be in a syllabus for a class that is like a governmental program class where personal politics should stay out. It says, stop relying on your social media feed for news. You will not understand the world if you consume information via an algorithm customized to reflect your prior, often inaccurate beliefs. Okay, yeah, I understand that. A lot of people get their news from social media, and that's obviously not a good route to take because a lot of things are falsified online, through the internet, through different social media. So I can understand that. I'm okay with that statement. But then it really gets worse. He says, this is particularly true of right-wing media, social and otherwise, which is now a cesspool of deceit and disinformation. So basically we singled out right-wing media and telling every student that right-wing media is full of deceit and disinformation. It goes on to say this includes, but it's not limited to, Parler, Breitbart, Gab, Rumble, One American News Network, GTV, Newsmax, New York Daily News, The Epoch Times, Fox News, and some other one that I don't know what it is. So then we list the right-wing media that is apparently full of deceit and disinformation. Well, I can tell you some of those are more factual than anything the left will ever produce. Anything. Some of them might be, a conservative network in favor of more conservative thoughts, but most of them don't make up the blatant lies that the left does. You know, none of those networks called what we saw last summer with BLM, none of those networks called it peaceful protesting. It was blatant riots. It was blatant murder in the streets. Buildings were being burned. Things were being looted. Crime across the entire thing. But the left, you know, produced that it's peaceful protesting. See, this is what I have a problem with. It's complete bias and just untrue. Now, I will say that the media on all sides, all of them, all the media, I don't think there is one fully truthful media outlet. There's a lot of deceit and disinformation across the board. There is a lot in the right. There's a lot in the left. So I'm not denying that there is deceit and disinformation among the right. The problem I had is that he singled it out and didn't mention the left whatsoever. And then, this is the part that really gets me. It says, none of the faculty in our program will take you seriously if you consume these news sources. So if I consume any right-wing media, such as Newsmax, which I love to watch, or Fox News, or One American News Network, I'm not going to be taken seriously by the program that I am paying to attend because I'm not listening to left-wing media. So first off, he singles out right-wing media, never mentions anything else other than right-wing. Then he doubles down by saying that none of the faculty would take me seriously if I consume it. So he doubled down, and then he also spoke on behalf of the entire program, which is also very unprofessional and ridiculous. So then, you know, as soon as I read that, I was like flipping out. I was like, this is insane. We cannot have this happening. You know, I'm not going to be the next victim of indoctrination throughout the education system. So what I did was I contacted the dean. I was like, hey, this is a huge problem. I sent him the excerpt from the syllabus, and I was like, this is a huge problem. And, you know, the school was like, yeah, that is a problem. You know, they contacted me and everything. And I talked to them about, I was like, we can't be having this. You know, like, I was okay if he would also say that left-wing media is full of deceit and disinformation, and I would have been like, that's totally okay. You know, don't be biased towards one side. That was the only thing I had a problem with. Had he mentioned the left-wing media, then I would have been okay. I would have been like, yeah, great. We are establishing that the media cannot be trusted. But that didn't happen. So I told the school, I was like, hey, I'm going to bring this up in class tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Well, I did research, and I know that it is legal for me to record a conversation that I am actively engaging in. So I didn't need his permission to record because I consented and I was actively in the conversation. Had I not been in the conversation and talking, that's where we'd have a problem, but I was actually talking. So we're going to go through and listen to what was said.
Yes, sir.
With all due respect,
You don't have to preface it that way. Because if somebody prefaces it, they're going to say, no, I completely disagree with you. So go ahead.
I read it last night. So first off, I was like, with all due respect, you know, trying to keep it peaceful and everything. And it's like, no, you don't have to preface it like that way, because as soon as someone says that, they're going to say something that's just not. I was like, okay, well, this is going to go well, because I can't have a civil conversation, you know, me actually trying to be respectful, and I can't get that matched. That doesn't make sense to me. And I find it that you just called out right-wing specifically.
I did, precisely.
So he acknowledged that he called out right-wing media.
And so you're not going to talk about CNN or anything?
Nope, I'm not, because CNN is a news source.
And I said, so you're not going to talk about CNN or anything? He says, no, I'm not, because CNN is a news source. But if we go back to the syllabus, he says, and I quote, none of the faculty in our program will take you seriously if you consume these news sources. So in the syllabus, he also acknowledged that all of these are also news sources.
CNN is a news source. It has a center-left swing, but they live in the world of reality.
He says that CNN lives in the world of reality, which didn't make sense to me. Because if anyone knows the CNN that I know, that's far from the truth. Let's go.
Fox does not live in the world of reality.
Fox News does not live in the world of reality. Just let that sit in. CNN, a left-wing media, lives in the world of reality, while Fox News, the right-wing media, does not. Now, if you follow them, if you put them up side by side, you would know that's not true.
Okay, and then your last statement I find very unprofessional, and it's very embarrassing for me, for this department, to say that none of the faculty in our program will take you seriously.
That's true.
So I say that it's embarrassing to me, as being a part of the program, for him to say that none of the people in the faculty would, take us seriously. And he was like, that's true. So he doubled down on it. Again.
If you believe in unicorn land, if you're going to consume this kind of stuff,
I think that's
we will not take you seriously.
Personal belief.
If we believe in unicorn land, and we're going to believe this stuff, they're not going to take us seriously. So let's recap. He's already acknowledged that all these right-wing news sources are actually news sources. And then in person he says that CNN is factual because it lives on planet Earth in the world of reality because it is a news source. And then says that if we consume right-wing media, that we live in unicorn land. And that Fox News lives in unicorn land. Okay, let's go.
Hey, too bad.
And I don't think personal beliefs should be anywhere in the classroom, no matter...
It's not a personal belief. If you go over
Yes.
to Fox right now, they are reporting lie after lie after lie.
So I said, any personal belief, no matter what it is, shouldn't be in the classroom. He says it's not a personal belief. And if you go to Fox News right now, they're reporting lie after lie after lie after lie. Absolutely insane.
And as I said, it didn't used to be this bad. The last 5 years or so, it's gotten outrageously bad. Okay? I mean, I'm sorry. This is the world of facts that we live in.
Okay, and again, over summer, all that was peaceful, according to CNN.
What?
Peaceful protests and everything. But 2 weeks
Did I say anything
ago,
about protests? I'm talking about news sources and information.
and I'm saying the disinformation
You can
and the
believe
deceit.
anything you want to believe. But if you cite these media as information and making factual claims, I will not take you seriously. I'm just telling you that right now.
So I brought up CNN and how they were calling the riots peaceful protesting. And he was like, what? I never even said anything about protests, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, obviously, because you're talking about how CNN is factual and stuff. Well, obviously they're not factual because they're calling it peaceful protest. And then he was like, you can believe whatever you want, but if you cite these sources, I'm not going to take you seriously.
But I can cite a left
If you
wing.
don't like that, then maybe you should take another class.
Oh, and then he said, well, if you don't like that, then maybe you should take another class. Listen, I would gladly take another class, but I'm required to take this class to graduate. It's not an option for me. I had to take the class.
But I can cite a left wing media.
You can cite the left-wing media that live on planet Earth.
And then I was like, so I can cite a left-wing media? He was like, you can cite a left-wing media that lives on planet Earth. Let me know when you find a left-wing media that lives on planet Earth, and then maybe I'll be able to cite them for you.
Do all the left-wing media live on planet Earth? No, I don't read the Nation.
He says, does all the left-wing media live on planet Earth? And he says no. So at least he got one thing correct.
I just think that was
I imagine
completely
the Nation
biased.
doesn't live on planet Earth. Okay?
Completely biased.
It is not a bias. It is not a bias. Okay? It is not. Okay? I have voted for as many Republicans as I have voted for Democrats.
I was like, it's complete bias, which it's obviously bias, and the people I've talked to said it was bias, and he was like, no, it's not bias. It's not bias whatsoever. He was like, well, I voted for as much as Republicans as I have as Democrats, and blah, 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 blah. Well, congratulations, but it's complete bias when you actually single out one or the other.
But something has happened in the past couple years with Republicans and the news sources they consume. They do not live on planet Earth.
So something has happened within the past couple years within Republicans and the news sources that we consume, and we don't live on planet Earth. So again, you're double downing, probably quadruple downing at this point, that Republicans don't live on planet Earth.
I cannot believe I see the information that comes out of people's mouths in these places. QAnon, the 70% of Republicans who don't believe Biden won the election, he won by 7.5 million votes, 74 electoral college votes. Okay, it wasn't close. I I can't have a conversation with people who don't accept the same basic rules of evidence to evaluate the world. That's the heart of this class.
He can't have a civil conversation with anyone who doesn't accept basic evidence. He brought up, the election, that there's 70% of Republicans don't believe that Joe Biden actually won the election. Well, I mean, we're not going to get into if he won or not, but let's talk about the past 4 years. The Democrats cried Russia collusion, cried that Hillary Clinton won and that Trump only won because, Russia colluded. But then the reports found that there was no evidence of that. Weird. But I can give you a list of evidence which is obvious from election fraud of 2020. If you want to talk about that, we can do that in another video. But
is that we use analytic techniques to analyze the world as it is, not the way we want it to be. And if you use these information sources as a basis to understand the world, then you do not understand the world. It's that simple.
I don't understand the world if I use these news sources to understand the world.
If you think that is a form of bias, there's the door.
He told me there's the door if I think it's some kind of bias. I would have loved to stand up and walk out, but I had to take the class.
Okay? Will I ever grade students on the basis of their political beliefs? No, I will not.
Now, he said something that I can agree with and, actually respect him. He said, will I ever grade someone based on their, political beliefs? Absolutely not. But how can I believe that when he just said he's not going to take us seriously if we cite these media sources within our, work?
Absolutely not. You will see in this class there will be times that I will articulate positions that defend Donald Trump's decision-making about a variety of policy issues. There will be other times where I'll say his decision-making is insane. Okay? I do not have a political bias against the right wing.
Then he says he doesn't have a political bias against the right wing. I mean, I don't know what all this is, but it seems like a political bias against the right wing, and especially the right-wing media.
I have political bias, and it's not political because it's a cognitive bias, okay, against information sources that are false, that report false information.
He has a cognitive bias against information sources that are false. Well, then he should really have a cognitive bias over CNN, MSNBC, ABC, any of those, because they report lie after lie after lie as well.
And if you use these false sources of information to make false claims about the world, no one will take you seriously as a professional. I'm telling you this so you understand the world as it is, not the world that you want it to be. Do we understand each other?
Not completely, because I do not understand how you think one side lives in reality and one side completely doesn't.
Do you believe that Joseph Biden won the election?
That is not up for debate.
Well, do you believe it or not?
No, this is about a statement in the simplest. I do not need to answer that question.
Well, it's a factual claim.
So he's like, do we understand? I'm just telling you, so you can understand the world as it is, that, you can't consume these false media things to have a reality perception of the world. You can't do that if you consume the left-wing media as well. And then he was like, do you understand? And I was like, no, because I don't understand how you can, just call out right-wing media and it not be biased. And then he's going to ask me if I believe Joe Biden won the election. What does that have to do with anything?
Okay. Now, we've spent enough time on this as it is, okay? You either accept this as a fact about the world, that these are the nature of these information sources, that they are all full of disinformation and propaganda. Differing degrees, certainly, okay? Fox News' election coverage was actually shockingly good for several days, shockingly accurate. Guess what happened to all the staff? What Fox just did to that staff this week? They fired them all because they have chosen to dig even further into QAnon Fantasyland, okay? Because that's where they make money. CNN is not even worth discussing in the same level of conversation as Fox in terms of bias or slant.
CNN is not even worth discussing in the same level of Fox News. This is just absurd to me. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So then basically he just ends with saying that he's not going to grade us on political beliefs, but if we use these sources as analytical facts and whatnot, then that's the problem. Okay. It may be a problem if we use right-wing media to cite things, but it's absolutely the same, if not more wrong, to cite left-wing media for the same work. This is the problem. I wouldn't have had a problem with him had he mentioned both sides equally, but he didn't. He put one to one extreme and one to the opposite, less extreme. This is happening across the country. They're indoctrinating people to believe that Republicans, conservatives, right-wing media all live in la-la land and have no idea what the heck they're talking about. While the left-wing media is producing straight facts and, we should be narrowed in, listening to them, watching them, and that's the only media sources that we should be consuming because it's factual and they live on planet Earth. I think that's complete BS. If I'm paying so much money to go to a school and to get an education, then I want my education. I don't want your political opinion. He can say all he wants that it's not political bias, but it's obviously political bias. He's triple down, quadruple dog down, whatever you want to call it. He has made it clear that it's a bias. And why am I paying for that? So the reason why I'm bringing it up today is because I talked to the school and, they were supposed to do something about it. And then I was basically left out. I made follow-up emails, whatever, nothing. I didn't get any response. Politics, political opinion should stay out of the classroom, no matter if you're conservative, Democrat, libertarian, independent, whatever. Your own personal opinion does not matter. I don't care. I should not know what your political affiliation is or who you support and what biases you have. My favorite teacher of all time was my high school teacher. 9th grade, I had her for my AP Government and Politics class, Mrs. Twig. I just really loved her, loved taking her classes. And the thing I loved most about her was throughout my entire high school career, 4 years there, I have no idea what her political affiliation was. And she taught government and politics. And that is how it should be in every classroom across the nation. No teacher should ever give a hint to their students in the classroom what their political affiliation is, especially when you're teaching something that has to do with government or politics. That was my favorite thing about her. Still to this day, I have no idea. I cannot read her. She doesn't tell her own opinion. She tells both sides. She gave both sides to a political issue, or abortion. She would give a pro reason and a con reason. And, she allowed us to form our own decisions, and that was one reason why I absolutely loved taking her class. And she was my role model throughout high school, and she's literally the reason why I fell in love with politics and wanted to actually start going into a political career. So she's the reason why, and the reason why I loved her is because I never knew her political affiliation, which is how it should be across the board. So what needs to be done? Parents, whether your child is in primary school or secondary school, you need to be questioning your teachers, questioning your kids' teachers. What are they learning? This whole critical race theory is trying to get placed into schools. You need to know what your kids are learning. They are being indoctrinated left and right. There are conservative teachers indoctrinating kids into believing, just conservatism, and that's blatantly wrong as well. No student should be told what to believe and, what or what not to consume as media sources. We should be able to make our own decisions as students and as just people and humans to form our own conclusions about the world and about, different political sides. We should never be told what to believe or what to think by teachers. It's absolutely wrong. So I encourage you to please fight these different school boards who are trying to put critical race theory in and divide this nation. Question the teachers. And quite frankly, I think there needs to be a video camera in every primary and secondary classroom across the nation. Some type of camera that the parents can know what they are being taught and what their students are being taught inside the classroom. In post-secondary schools, colleges, whatnot, we also need to have every class recorded. It was made known that we have this ability to record any class and have a video camera in a classroom setting from COVID. We had Zoom, Skype, I don't know what else, Microsoft Teams. They all use that. We need to be able to have proof of what these professors, teachers, whatever, are doing to our students. We need to hold them accountable. We are not paying to go to the school to be told a personal opinion. We are going to be educated about facts, not opinions. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's Freedom Friday video. I'll keep you updated as this situation, progresses. And I hope you guys come back for next week's Freedom Friday. It's going to be 4th of July weekend. I can't really tell you the topic that I'm going to be discussing because I actually don't even know yet. But in the meantime, you can like us on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to our mailing list at thegreatamericanreform.com, and even subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with these videos. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you, and God bless.